This video will show you how to get started using Vcarve. First, double-click the icon on your desktop. Give it a second to load. Open an existing file. Search your desktop for the PDF that you should have downloaded from Onshape. In this case, we'll use 2-3 Vcarve Practice PDF. When the file opens up, you'll need to do some pre-steps to get the program more stable. First, go to View, Tile Windows Horizontal. The second pre-step you need to do is click the Toolpath button on the right and then select this pin. Those two things will make the program run much more smoothly. Now we need to set up our job size. Your job size for X and Y will be determined by the wood you plan to take to the shopbot. For today's practice, let's assume we used a tape measure and measured our material to be 30 inches on the X and 15 on the Y. Make sure that you deleted the old numbers and entered the new ones. For thickness, again, we would measure the piece of wood we plan to take to the shopbot with a caliper this time, and let's assume we measured 0.75. So our material is now set up, X, Y, and Z. The other job setup features you have to be aware of are Z0, which should always be in this position, XY datum, which should always be in this position. Your units are inches, and you can click OK. Now I'm going to show you some ways to navigate your document. The first thing is knowing how to zoom. With two fingers, you can slide down to zoom out, and again with two fingers slide up to zoom in. If you ever get lost in your document, click this button over here, zoom to fit, and it'll relocate your view. If you ever need to change your job dimensions, click this button over here and you can go back to this setup. Again, two fingers slide. I'm not clicking, I'm just lightly sliding on the trackpad. Down will zoom out. Two fingers lightly slide up will zoom in. If you ever get lost, click zoom to fit and you'll find your document. Next thing I want to show you is how to join your vectors. When you bring a file in from Onshape, notice I can click on a line, yet this whole rectangle is not selected. If I were to go and try and move that rectangle, only that one line moves. That's not what we want. We have to join these vectors. To do this, draw a box around your entire document. Everything should light up pink. Come down here under Edit Objects and you'll see Join Open Vectors. I forgot to delete something before doing that. So I'm zooming in on this text. I drew a box around it. Two-finger click, delete. Now we can go in and join our vectors. I mentioned zooming earlier. You can also what's called pan. To do that, click Control. So hold Control down on your keyboard, and with two fingers this time click with two fingers and move your fingers around the trackpad while you're clicking. That will allow you to pan. Let's try to join our vectors again. So now I'm going to drag a box around all my vectors. Remember, I messed up last time. I had to get rid of that text. Now I can go to Join Vectors, and you see closed vectors. I only have 3. Those would be the circles. They're all considered closed vectors. But I have 30 open vectors. These are all these individual lines here. These are considered open vectors. In order to go to the shopbot, we can't have any open vectors. And if you look over here, you'll see after we join these, we'll have 9 closed vectors and 0 open vectors, which is what we want. This is a standard tolerance that shows up. Just leave it at 0.004. And when you're ready, click Join. You can close this join window. And now what you'll notice, when I click on an object, the whole thing lights up instead of just one line. I want you to now practice moving pieces around your document. I could click on this, and I could either use the arrow keys and move it over, or I could use the mouse and drag it around. But be careful. If you wanted that circle and rectangle to be together, you must join both of them, or you must move both of them at the same time. In other words, I can drag a box around the two to select them, or I could click one, hold Shift, click the other, and now I have both selected, and they'll move as one shape. Again, let's show that over here. I could select one, hold Shift, select the other, let go of Shift, and now they'll move together. Or I could drag a box around two things. That's the same thing as doing a Shift select. So practice moving these around and reorient your shapes. At this point, you're ready for the next video, which is setting up your toolpaths.